유기죠!
Hello and welcome to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. So this time we're going to actually be doing a two-part episode called The Better Meta. This will probably be the first in a series, if I can put it together, in which I invite on players who have competed extremely well at tournaments and had great success in particular UK teams, or potentially teams from a wider audience. They come on, they discuss a topic. So I have a whole bunch of questions that I'm going to ask them, and this is going to be basically in a sort of podcast-style format, so let's get into it. Alright, so we have a group of players who know a fair amount about the game, shall we say. So what I've got is a list of questions to try and discuss mostly sort of things about the way that the game is at the moment, things that you like about it, things that maybe could be changed and fixed, that kind of thing, but it's really focusing on aspects that you guys enjoy, and as competitors, you'd like to see more of it, or you just like the way that it functions. So the first question is very easy. Everyone can answer this individually. It's, are you happy with the game, yes or no?
Not in its current state.
Yes, big yes.
I think yes.
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Big yes.
Quite well.
I enjoy the game, but I don't like the current state of the...
I think the meta is quite balanced, and the only thing is, I don't know, I think it's a bit old, like it's kind of stale, so I feel like, you know, a new balance could revive it a bit, but in terms of like how balanced the meta is, I think it's fairly balanced.
I'm glad
I
that
disagree that it's stale.
See, I'm glad that
of-
Massey used the word balance, because I was really hoping someone was going to use that, because I wouldn't say it's balanced. I'd actually say it's one of the... This is... I was saying to the guys earlier about it's a weird mix of a meta, because there is no middle ground in this meta. You either play super combo deck, I win turn one by doing my combo, and it's basically unbreakable ball, or you play the super slow strategies like Salamangre and Sky Striker, but there's no kind of old traditional, you know, mix of a deck where it has a potential to go quickly, but it also has some stun or some tempo. There's no really... I'd like to see a deck in that middle ground.
I would say Salamangre it's that kind of deck though, because you can kind of combo off OTK, and then you
It's
can also
only
like,
that deck because it has Fusion Fire. It one
You're
card
saying if we
able to kill
ban Violent
quickly.
Chimera, then we've just turned Salamangre into just like...
The worst Sky
Yeah.
Striker.
Also, I think decks tend to sort of move further and further towards the combo end as people develop them. Like, when Thunder Dragons came out, like, they weren't doing crazy combos, but, like,
Yeah.
look at them now.
that deck's insane.
Bro, started from the bottom. Now we're here, bro.
What kind of decks do you feel are the most fun to play? And do you have some kind of examples of those? So we kind of went down the route of like, oh, it's a combo deck, or it's like a slower, more controlled deck. So
I want to hear Ryan's opinion.
Let's let Ryan go first.
So I like stuff like Boujin, Cliffhawk, Guru. Not the main monarch, that's too far, but no, I do like control decks. Like, Altergeist was fine, apart from the fact it can roam floodgates.
I think just like
Yeah,
the more decisions you have to make, like the more interesting a deck is, and like the more decisions that both players have to make in a match, like I think the more skill expressive the matchup tends to be.
So something like striking.
Yeah, because I suck at the strike matchup because it's too hard for me.
Yeah.
But
So that's why I don't really enjoy Salamangre. It feels so linear.
Yeah.
Like
It
you're just
is,
doing the
but
same combo. It's so brain dead.
The thing I'd say about like which deck you like, I think it comes down to like one fundamental thing is how much of your thinking do you want to happen before you enter a game versus how much do you want to be after.
That's
So-
a good point.
So if you're building a combo deck, what you're doing is you're putting all of that thought process of what's gonna stop my opponent playing, or what's gonna make it so that I can't lose. All of that thought process is going in at the beginning before you've even had your. Whereas the thought process for the control player is more of, okay, so what's the best thing I can do? So it's kind of the proactive versus reactive, because I've played both. And I've played decks that were a mix of the two, where I'd say I'm largely a control player, but I play a lot of control decks which in turn have combos within them.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like Trickstar Sky Striker last year,
Yeah,
where
exactly.
it was largely control because it was largely a Trickstar deck, but its main selling point to a lot of people was that it had this 2-card combo to make the Lilybell loop, which, you know, at the end of the day, that was a mix where you're looking for this combo, so you've already thought about how you're going to win the game, but then the control was what got you there.
Yeah. So you're kind of, in those cases, you kind of just have to think until you get to a point when you can unleash the combo aspect.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, I would, as I said, I'd class myself as more of a control player than a combo player. I can put combo decks together. I just can't stand it because I like a couple of people have said, like the interaction. So I think it just comes down to whether you prefer interaction.
I mean, there is sometimes the problem that if you spend too much time working on combo decks, you're memorizing how the deck should work in ideal scenarios. You enter games where you always have a weirder situation than you've anticipated, and because the deck has so many facets, it's hard to determine the perfect line of play. And I think for me, that's one of the big things.
And something as well about that, which is quite funny, is that you have this situation. So, for instance, when I'm testing a combo deck, I'll test it against, hey, what if my opponent has Ash? What if my opponent has this? What if my opponent has that?
Yeah.
But even when you're doing that, you're assuming that your opponent is going to play as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that they do the thing that everyone does. And the problem with, you know, opponents in general, they sometimes do weird stuff. And that can literally be enough when you're playing a combo deck to go, oh, well, I can't actually do what I wanted to do because I didn't expect you to hand trap me.
Yeah.
You know, I remember once, I think I'd stopped a whole guy's combo because I negated his Destrudo on field, and it was a 7. And that was it. Like, that was literally.
I can lead onto that point. For me, that I like deck building, and building a deck that has probably my favorite thing to do. This Ash, and you're expecting they're going to Ash me at some point in this combo. You just going off and you almost being in the driver's seat. You play a card, you're going to Ash this kind of position you're in, and you just feel your deck just can keep going through all of these cards. And I feel I'm just going to play like the strongest deck that can force my opponent to play poor. I feel the game is pros and cons if you like a diverse format. Some people prefer a 1-2 deck format. Some people prefer a 6 deck format. I guess that this format's very balanced or diverse, and for me, I enjoy that with the creativity, but then also miss aspects of a 1-deck format where you can build the best deck for the mirror and learn that to the extent, but I'm quite happy with the meta currently.
Well, yeah, so this is exactly one of my questions, is like, what kind of format is the best to play in? Is it a 1-deck format? Is it a triangle format? Is it something that's more diverse? What kind of format makes it more fun to compete in?
I personally like the rock paper scissors that kind of format where like this deck beats this deck, this deck beats this deck, that kind of triangle format.
Yeah,
or even like there's ones where there's been even more decks than that. But you know, you might have a cycle of 5 decks, but where each one is strong against another one of those 5.
Yeah,
Phil,
those
for
are the
me,
formats I've enjoyed the most.
I guess I've played in like many formats at a competitive level. The best formats for me are like I said, the triangle or the 2-deck formats, and then you have a new set, bring a new deck in, and it just throws the meta off. So then that for me is the perfect.
I think another nice thing about like 2 or 3 deck formats is like it gives you more of an opportunity to try and attack it from like another angle. Because if there's like 6 really strong decks, you're probably not going to find something that beats like all of them consistently. Where I think like 2 or 3 deck formats, there's more of a chance for that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to another question then. So I'm sure we've definitely kind of brought this up already. Do you guys feel that there are any decks at the moment in the meta which are severely overpowered, and how do we fix them?
No.
I think the Thunder Dragon needs to be dealt with a little bit. Other than that, no.
It's just Saruja. I think it's purely just Saruja.
The things are completely overpowered.
I actually think.
I mean, they play thanks to Saruja. much. If you take out Sayuja, I don't think like they can do as much as they can do right now.
Yeah, they'd have to force it to be on Summon Sorceress, but it's not as strong.
They're just gonna go to the more linear build, I feel like.
Yeah,
with like a splash of chaos inside, which is cool.
But the chaos,
it's not gonna be like Drogon.
No, but like it's fair enough.
Yeah, it's just fair.
But it will be way underpowered compared to Skystrike and Summon. Because currently they can
be back on Fusion.
Yeah, I guess Thunderdragon, you can just do a whole different like I was thinking if they do hit, like, let's say they did Baron Saryuja or something, then you have to do something like weird with Griffin or something and set like a floodgate or something like that, because you're losing a lot of like power like if you lose Saryuja, there's a lot of power being lost, so you got to do something like that. Like that's what I'm thinking about Griffin or something else.
There has also been like recently a lot of tops of list where they were just playing one Saryuja and most but no dangers inside, and they were still like topping and winning. So it just goes into a more linear like list kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if Saryuja goes to one and the danger are limited, whatever, I mean the deck can still do a lot. It's just like fair kind of thing, more fair.
But the thing I'd say that's kind of interesting. I think we can pretty much can I say we all pretty much agree that the big combo deck is a bit too silly at the moment and needs to get hit.
That's totally agree. Yes.
And we can, but here's the thing: would you ever label Sky Striker as a problem deck? Because of how it plays, it's not your traditional problem deck. Like it's not. When you look at a Sky Striker board,
I think
you don't go, oh, that's just so unfair.
The only concern with Sky Striker is the fact that you can end and then have a full hand next turn, which most other decks cannot do.
You have many interaction, and Movie Roll just like recycles those back anyway. And with Engage not being a hard once per turn, you keep searching and searching and searching.
But I think multi-roll in itself is fine because it forces the resources to disappear eventually. I think the fact that you can top deck Engage and then end up in a head.
But multi-roll shouldn't have both of the effects.
No, I
think I'm just going to discuss it on a different angle. I think Sky Striker is just that deck that Konami are going to leave until it becomes a problem, or they're just going to let it disappear. As the game progresses, the deck will just either disappear, or if it does become a problem, they will address it because they will push future support. They're not going to let a deck play for 2 years again.
Yeah.
I think like one of the big issues with Sky Striker is like, they just kind of set this bar of like if your control deck isn't good enough to compete with them, like it's just going to be useless. Because like loads of the decks, like the Witchcraft and stuff, and the Evil Eye, more the Evil Eye, they could be sort of interesting, but they just why play them over Sky Striker?
Yeah,
Evil Eye is literally Guru bot. I can run 4 floodgates, but it's like 10 times worse. So
they'll always introduce new archetypes that are designed for the casual player. Every deck doesn't have to compete with the meta, and they design it as so.
No, it's true. It's true.
In the past year, on the topic of Striker, Konami just haven't hit archetype cards. They've just hit the cards around it. They've hit the power cards like Goats, Above a Grave, Nightmare Goblin, Fireball. They just generally don't hit archetype cards. It's very strange.
I guess it's because for the player base, if you're buying a deck, they hope that if you are just going to buy one deck, that you're just going to keep playing it and buy the new cards to add to it.
Yeah. Because for like Thunder Dragon, they hit Brilliant Fusion, Gold Star. They haven't actually hit any Thunder Dragon cards.
And the deck as a whole, I don't think will receive any hits. Again, it will be the cards around it. The ones that I'm looking at are Saru, Solar, Sky Blaster.
Yeah. Or just Sky Blaster needs to go.
Sky Blaster gets
These cards could be limited. Probably Sky Blaster will be banned.
The only Thunder Dragon card that's in
people already play like Sky Blaster. I mean, like Orcus plays 2 anyway. Orcus can play 2 usually.
I think the Chaos Dragon needs to be hit, the White Wyvern.
Yeah, I think if the Busters should probably go to what?
Yeah.
That'd be weird, but...
I'm surprised they haven't been broken before this point. With the
not as intended.
Sorry?
They're from a time when everything missed timing.
I think God Dragons really made them a lot stronger.
Look at Light Pulsar. For all of those Archetype cards, like 4 Chaos Dragons, all missed timing, and I messed up there, allowing them to work because that's not as intended. Clearly, because they just like missed timing, like preemptively for the Synchro era, and it just didn't follow over.
I quite like that any meta discussion turns into a ban list discussion immediately.
PK rank up into Azathoth, VFD, and Kaliuga.
What's that? What's this?
The PK rank up.
Oh, the PK rank ups is disgusting.
Yeah, because if you hit Azathoth, once Dark Neostorm comes out, they just make VFD instead.
VFD, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and also there's combos that you can use too. You can even make Kali-Yuga with it as well.
Yeah,
it
becomes absurd at that point.
Oh, what about banning it?
It's fine if they didn't exist. Like the only thing it was used for, other than those, was to OTK with Requiem and the Kaiju.
Yeah, but the reason you can't. So the reason there are reasons it's a problem anyway. It's a problem because even if you can't even get rid of Bardish to deal with it, because then the Raid Raptor guy will be released probably in the summer.
Wait, can it?
That's true.
No, it can only search normals, can't it?
What?
Normal rank
I swear it can just search.
It's all right. I have Google.
The issue with rank up is it's used not as it should be designed. The card was designed for PK. That's the issue.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
No, just
I agree with you. It was a
deck
mistake.
and then... Okay, that's busted. Yeah, they need to ban the rank up. Ignore me. I'm an idiot.
Also, I think it's just one of those cards where, like, if you don't ban it, you have to ban so many other thick cards just because of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the only additional argument against Azathoth, on top of that, because obviously we have to get rid of the rank up magic. If you were going to get rid of Azathoth as well, the additional argument is that in the future there will be another FTK that will be able to use dark monsters and will put an Azathoth out. So unless they bring out more trap or like spell-based, potentially hand traps, you have to worry that Azathoth is going to be something that forces an FTK through in the future.
That's true, but how many FTK you know that can make a rank 4 before they do any of the stuff that's going to FTK
It's also a
you?
Heavy investment. Like,
yeah,
it's like making Savage Dragon
point.
before you FTK. That's pretty fair, like, to be honest.
But we can't assume that they're not going to release another danger kind of archetype in the future, because they did. That's exactly what happened.
Do you know what? Considering how dangers have gone the first time, I think we can assume we're going to release another danger, because even we realised that was
the
not
bad dangers are fine.
Dangers are fine and they are really good. They help creativity, but they also have become the de facto best extenders in the game.
Like, the bad dangers seem fair, because it's like, if they like hit the danger card, they don't do that much. It's just the ones that are like guarantee a monster no matter what.
Yeah.
Just like,
I feel like those cards are going to end up limited.
And you could just get lucky into +3. It's silly.
In fairness, Joe, we should probably talk about at some stage. It might be worth putting it on the end somewhere. Talk about the new communication from Konami.
Yeah, it's really good actually. I think they're putting in a serious effort with the influencers and the like additional stuff.
I mean, putting a blog post saying, "Hey, by the way, ban list is coming late April," that's pretty cool.
Thanks very much for watching part 1 of this episode. Stay tuned, and part 2 will be up very shortly.